بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Welcome to today's episode of Missing Ingredients here on Huda TV. I'm your host Abdur-Raheem McCarthy. We've been looking at the missing ingredients that were missing in our prayers, looking how the Prophet ﷺ and the companions and the early Muslims used to strive in their prayer and the pleasure they used to find, and trying to see what we're missing and what we can do to reach that level, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, that they had reached. And we stopped in our last episode with a quick recap of our second stage of this show, which is from the adhan until the takbir. And we talked about 6 different things from the adhan to the takbir, and the first was the adhan. And we finished with that in the last episode. And then we reached the second thing, which was the wudu. And I want to ask you, let's be honest, after the segment we had about the wudu, has your wudu changed? Has there been any difference in your wudu? Do you think about the meanings of the wudu? We mentioned that the intention you can have in the beginning, most people say just so they are able to pray, which is correct. But we mentioned there's 5 other things as well. 5 other intentions you can have at the beginning as well. Have you looked at these intentions? Have you made these intentions when you started making your wudu? Have you thought about how the sins are falling away, inshallah ta'ala, as you wash away, inshallah, the sins through the wudu and then through the prayer, inshallah, later, inshallah? Have you thought about the fact that you're doing this so you can stand in the best of states in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have you started to reflect? Have you started to feel the change? Have you started reflecting on the greater meaning of the wudu, the greater meaning of why you're praying? And that is to purify your heart, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear at the end of the verse of Surah Al-Ma'idah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want to make for us haraj, difficulty. وَلَكِنْ يُرِيدُ لِيُطَهِّرُكُمْ, but He wants to purify you, purify your hearts through the wudu and then through the prayer. Have you been thinking about this? Have you been thinking about the things that are harming your heart? Because these things, as we mentioned from the beginning, these sins, they're going to come between you and finding pleasure in your prayer. Have you been trying to cleanse your heart, just like you're cleansing your limbs when you make wudu? We need to reflect on these meanings. The 3 du'as that we mentioned, the 3 du'as that we say at the end of the wudu, have we memorized them? Have we acted upon them? Have we been saying them? Or is our wudu still the custom, the quick, get it done and khalas, go pray wudu? Have we been following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when we made wudu? We open up the faucet and we say, oh, astaghfirullah, I can't waste water, because it's the sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so I close it. Or we still have it open for 10 minutes as we make wudu, a'udhu billah. Have we found any change in our wudu? If you haven't, you need to reflect. Because as we said, if you don't start striving, you don't start making a stance to make change, you're not going to benefit. You're watching these programs, alhamdulillah. Hopefully you're benefiting, but if you're not going to act upon it, where's the true benefit? We want to change. This is the whole goal, the whole objective of this show, is to find change in our prayer. It's to fill in those missing ingredients. If I give you the ingredients and you don't put them in, it's not going to work. Reflect on your wudu. Have you prayed 2 rakats after your wudu? Have you prayed 2 rakats like Bilal radiallahu anhu used to do? The Prophet ﷺ heard his footsteps in the Jannah. Have you implemented this sunnah and prayed 2 rakats? I'm going to mention something to you very beautiful that the Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah mentioned. He said, لَمْ أَتَعَلَّمْ السُّنَّةِ إِلَّا عَمَلْتُ بِهَا. He said, I never learned a sunnah from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam except that I acted upon it. وَلَوْ مَرَّةً, even if it's one time. Because the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did a whole bunch of different things. So sometimes we change and do this just because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. To do it at least once, twice in your life, make that change. Even if you don't make the 2 rakats every time, every now and then, just to implement that sunnah. Even if you at work, you can't pray the 2 rakats of duha every day. But every now and then you take that, instead of that coffee break, you go and pray 2 rakats of duha. You should try to pray every day. because the great ajr, the great reward for it. Implement those sunnahs. Strive to do them. You're going to see the change in your life. You're going to see the barakah, the blessings, and following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in all aspects of life. Revive the sunnah in your life. Revive the sunnah in the life of the Muslims. People say, why do you do this? You sit down when you drink. Why? Because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do it. The effect it has on you as the Muslim. The effect it has upon you as the other people. People we tend to forget this. Now when I grow my beard, people ask me, especially non-Muslims, why do you have a beard like this? I say, because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had it. Even before I was a Muslim, I had a beard, but a small one, obviously. Because as a man, you used to have a beard anyways. It's part of being a man. But the point is that why did I grow my beard like this? Some of my family members ask, why does it have to be so big? I said, because the Prophet ﷺ had a big beard. His beard used to fill his chest, alayhi salatu wassalam. The companions used to know that he was praying because of the movement of his beard as he was reading. They know he was reading in the prayer. They could see the movement of his beard. He had a big beard, alayhi salatu wassalam. So I want to be like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why I grow my beard. I don't want to be like anybody else, trimming it down or cutting it off or shaving it. I want to be like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remind the Muslims of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by being like him, by acting like him, by having the manners of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the key things of praying like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and learning his prayer, the description of the prayer, learn the meanings behind what he did and what he said, is also for it to be a way of life. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. When the Prophet said, and when he said to us, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni asalli," pray as if you have seen me pray, I said it's a way of life. Because we're going to follow him in the salat, and we're going to follow him out of the salat as well, alayhi salatu wasalam. We can never stop emphasizing the importance of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As an ummah right now, we're going through a lot of changes. In this last few years, there have been so many changes in the Muslim world. The Muslims themselves. Muslims coming back to Islam. Muslims calling for Islam. Calling for the implementation of Sharia in Islam. Big changes that we never would have thought would have happened. And all of you know what I'm talking about without getting to the political scene. It's amazing with the changes that have happened. But we need to realize, as Imam Malik rahimahullah taught us and told us, and he trained the Muslims during his time and those who were to come after him, because he was looking forward, looking ahead, rahimahullah. He said that this ummah will never be successful except for what with the beginning of the ummah was successful. That this ummah, meaning during his time, and obviously the ones who come after them even more so, will never be successful except for if they follow that which the first part of the ummah followed. It means strictly adhering to the Quran and to the Sunnah. And this is one of the key things. When you follow the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in your prayer, it's going to reflect on your lives as well, inshallah ta'ala. That the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ becomes a way of life. Everything you do. When you sleep on your right side. And then, but you have to be careful sometimes, because sometimes your wife's on the other side, she gets upset because you sleep away from her, so be careful. But at least start on the right side, because it's the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If you can sleep that way the whole night, beautiful, because it's the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We need these small things, we need to revive them in our lives. Go out tonight, if you don't have it, or get it online. The great little small book about 1,000 sunnahs in night and day. Look at these sunnahs. Are you acting upon them in your life? Alhamdulillah, translated in English and all kinds of languages. Look at this little book. You can put it in your pocket. I believe they even have it for the iPhone. Download it on your smartphone. Look at these sunnahs and act upon them in your life. Let the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ become a way of life. Reflect on these meanings. After the wudu, the third ingredient, from the adhan till the takbir, was the salah of the jama'ah, the congregational prayer. How are you in salatul jama'ah? You heard what we said. You heard the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that are very scary for the one who leaves the jama'ah. You heard about the more reward for praying in the jama'ah. You heard about the blessings and the benefits of praying in the jama'ah and the effect it has on you in your prayer. How are you in salatul jama'ah? Ask yourself now. Be honest. Have you found a change? Have you felt a change? Have you started going to the jama'ah more? Are you praying there all the time? Are you trying to be there before the iqamah is called? Because don't think that missing or coming late to prayer and just being there, it's something easy as well, because the scholars used to look down upon this. Ayub al-Sikhtiyani, the great scholar of Islam, the one that he used to have to hide when he walked down the street so people wouldn't see it's Ayub, and mass crowds would follow him because they didn't want to mess up his niyyah, rahimahullah. He said, if you see somebody not paying attention to the first takbir, which you're about to enter soon, inshallah, first takbir of ihram, he said, فَقْصِلْ يَدَيْكَ مِنْهُ, wash your hands from him, because he's useless. Someone who's coming late to the jama'ah. We need to strive to be there on time and to be there in the congregation as a true Muslim. Have you started to do it? The fourth thing we talked about, when you cover your awrah in the prayer, brothers and sisters, have you started to reflect upon that? Has a sister started to reflect when she goes out of the house without hijab, or with these so-called modern hijab, with this little scarf and all of the makeup and the tight pants? I don't know how she fits into them, mashallah, and it's strange. She can't, Miskina, she can't walk, she's so tight her pants, and she's got a little shirt on, maybe covering up something, and she's muhajjaba, mashallah, she's wearing hijab, the hijab of shaitan. She wouldn't pray like this because she knows her prayer is not accepted, but she's willing to go out like this. So when she covers herself in the prayer, has she thought about this, the sister, of how she's supposed to be doing? Where are the brothers who let their wives and their daughters and their sisters, where are the men, honestly, you have to ask yourself, letting the women go out like this? You need to ittaqillah, you need to fear Allah and yourself and your family. And remember what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Oh, you who believe, protect yourself and your families from the hellfire. All of these things are covering the awrah. These things that we're doing has meanings. They're supposed to not just affect our prayer, but to affect our life as well. And we're going to continue, inshallah, but after this short break, so stay tuned. We'll be right back, inshallah.
It's the essence of Islam, Tawheed, believing in the oneness of Allah, the same message that Allah sent all His prophets with since the beginning of time.
La ilaha illallah. You need Tawheed, especially at the time of distress, at the time of need.
Tawheed first with Imam Kareem Abu Zayd in Ramadan only on Huda TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to this episode of Missing Ingredients here on Huda TV with your host Abdur-Raheem McCarthy. We've been looking into the missing ingredients, and before the break we're talking about the stage 2 of our program, which is from the takbir. This is from the adhan until the takbir. And we have 6 things we say we need to focus on. And we reach number 4, which is satr al-awrah, which is covering the awrah, and how this affects us even outside of the salat. And we need to reflect, as the scholars said, and the importance of this. We need to say it time and time again, because this needs to become a part of our life, a part of who we are, a part of our DNA. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, that verily the prayer, it protects us or forbids us from doing that which is fahsha and munkar. Fahsha is immoral actions, and munkar is evil actions. All types of bad things and bad deeds that are displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, why is this so important, this verse? Because when you look at your actions, and you look at the ayah, is your prayer protecting you? Is it forbidding you? Is it a barrier between you and that which is evil, that which is immoral, that which is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If you find yourself constantly falling into these things, that means you're not benefiting from your prayer. That means you really check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, because what's going to happen is on the Day of Judgment. We'll go back to the first episode. This hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we need to focus on these meanings. SubhanAllah. The first thing you're going to be asked about from your actions on the Day of Judgment, the first thing is the salah. It's the prayer. فَإِذَا قُبِلَتْ قُبِلَ سَائِرَ عَمَلِهِ. So if it's accepted, the rest of your deeds will fall into it as well, and they'll be accepted as well. وَإِذَا رُدَّتْ رُدَّ سَائِرَ عَمَلِهِ. And if it's rejected, then the rest of your deeds are going to be rejected as well. The prayer is the pillar of the deen, as the Prophet ﷺ described it. The amud of the deen, the backbone of the deen. We need to close guard this prayer with our lives. After La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, there's nothing more important than this prayer. We need to focus on it. Look at your actions. Are you falling into haram, immoral acts, evil acts, night and day? They're not benefiting from your prayer. You need to really check yourself. Hold yourself to account. What's going wrong? Don't be from those who have been misled by shaitan and come on the day of judgment and have not benefited anything from their prayer. Satr al-awra is a reminder to all of us of being modest, of being humble, of being shy and bashful in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are we going to say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we come on the day of judgment and we've been walking around with our auras exposed to the people? Our sisters with these new satanic hijabs of the tight clothing. And subhanAllah, you don't know, it's so misleading even to non-Muslims. I said with non-Muslims, like, what is this? Why does she cover her hair? I said, because you have to wear hijabs. They said, but look on the bottom, look what she looks like. Tight pants, her body sticking out everywhere, makeup. Like it's Halloween sometimes, a'udhu billah, so much makeup on. It's crazy. They look foolish. A'udhu billah. And the thing is, shaitan is taking over our sisters. When she's covering herself in the prayer, it's a reminder to her, this is how you're supposed to be outside of the prayer. The prayer is training you to be modest, to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're not finding this, you're not benefiting from the prayer. You need to take a serious stance by yourself. Remember Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment, when you're standing there in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the main deed you're going to be asked about is your prayer. And if it's not accepted, everything else is going to be rejected. You have to be careful. It's a serious thing. It's no joke. This one time, go back to a few episodes back when we looked at our brother Abdullah, who's paralyzed, who just wished he could make sujood on the ground, and we take advantage of it. We don't benefit from our prayer. This is the one chance we have. Remind yourself of these meanings when you do them. Reflect on them. The Quran was sent down as a book to reflect on. لِيَدَّبِّرُوا آيَاتِ. A book, Kitab Anzalnahu Mubarak. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, a book we have sent down as a book of barakah, blessings. And this is what it's become to Muslims. They put it on the dashboard of the car. They put it on top of the TV. Barakah. It's no doubt it's a book of blessings. But what's the main goal of it? لِيَدَّبِّرُوا آيَاتِ. To reflect on the meanings of the Quran. Reflect on the meanings of everything you do in Islam, the beauty behind it. Wallah, Islam is such a beautiful religion, we don't reflect on it. And the prayer shows us this. I remember one time I gave a lecture. We had Muslims and non-Muslims. And I said to them in this lecture, I said, a blank piece of paper, this is my lecture, I have nothing to say. I prepared nothing. People who came out to hear me lecture, what's wrong with this guy? And the non-Muslims who don't know me, who are attending, like, what's up with this guy? He's coming to lecture, and he has nothing with him. What is this? And I said, tonight, we're going to talk about, because the title of the lecture the brothers had chosen was about the beauties of Islam. And I said, we're going to prove how beautiful Islam is, and how Islam is the religion of truth. And I said, we're going to solve the problems of mankind through the religion of Islam tonight here in this lecture, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. And I said, I challenge anybody to bring any problem that we have in the society and around the world, and I will bring you the solution from Islam, from the Quran, and from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inshallah. And I said, if I can't do it, I will live to my challenge. I'll stand by my challenge, and I will go home and I'll research and I'll find the solution in Islam, and I'll bring it to you next week. We sat there the whole night, and they kept bringing things. Alhamdulillah, we all enjoyed it. It was a very fun lecture, interactive lecture. Alhamdulillah, not one problem was mentioned except for we had the solution in the Quran and Sunnah. Alhamdulillah. The beauty of Islam, we see it in the movements of the prayer and the things that are done. We don't reflect on these meanings. It has so much benefit in it. But unfortunately, we take advantage of a religion. After Satr al-Awra, we talked about istiqbal al-Qibla. And facing the Qibla. Remind us of the greatness of Mecca. Remind us of the hardship that the Muslims went through when the direction of the Qibla was changed. Remind ourselves as we stand there in this humble state about the Day of Judgment, about crossing the bridge. And we're going to mention a little bit more about that in coming episodes, inshallah. This reminder as we stand there. Reminder that could be the last time we prayed. Have we thought about that when we stood in facing the Qibla? Have we started thinking about that? And then we went into the description of the Prophet's prayer in the last episode, following the command of our beloved Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, when he told us, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray as if you have seen me pray. Have you found a difference in your prayer? Have you found a difference in your prayer by following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It becomes a way of life. Not just something you do in the prayer, but a way of life in all aspects of following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you really love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're going to follow him in everything he does, in his actions, in his statements. You want to be like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at the Sahaba, how they used to be. One time the companions of Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, he was walking with his companions, and he went over to a place and he sat under a tree. What are you doing? Why would you sit here? What's the benefit of sitting here? We're going down the path. He said, because I saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sit here under this tree, so I want to sit here. We wouldn't call this a sunnah because he sat there, just something he did. But because of so much love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wanted to sit in the same place he sat at, alayhi salatu wasalam. Ali radiallahu an, when he was on his camel and he mentioned the dua, he said, he laughed at the end. His companion said, why did you laugh after saying the dua? He said, because I saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam smile and laugh when he said this dua, so I want to do exactly like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. We'll say it's sunnah to laugh and smile at this, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did it after this. Maybe he remembered something why I did, Allahu alam. But Ali radiallahu anhu, he did it just so he could do like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how much they loved the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, he forbid his children from doing some certain things that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbid them from doing, and he saw them do it again. He said, Wallah, I won't talk to you again to the day of judgment. To teach the lesson to his own child and to the Muslims that came after them. And that's very difficult for a father to do, by the way. It's not something easy. Look at Nuh alayhi salam, as he knows the rain's about to come. He knows the people are about to be drowned. And he's trying to convince his son, Irkab ma'ana, get on the ship with us. He said, so he won't get drowned because of the love the father has for his son. But Abdullah ibn Umar, he wanted to teach a lesson to his children. He wanted to teach a lesson to the Muslims that came after them about the danger of turning away from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and going back to it, in ruling by it, in living by it, part of iman. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Pay attention to this verse. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he swears by himself that none of you truly believe until you go back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لَا يُؤْمِنُوا, that you do not believe until you go back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and that which you have differed upon. And then you don't find anything in your heart. Then you don't find anything in your heart. Just pay attention. Not just going back to the sunnah, but when the ruling comes from the sunnah, that you don't find anything in your heart against it. وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا, and they submit completely to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is part of iman. لَا يُؤْمِنُوا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the verse. You do not believe until you go back to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and you make it part of your life. The sunnah, the sunnah, the sunnah, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. We need to strive to learn it. We need to strive to act upon it. We need to make it part of our lives. If we're going to be successful as Muslims, we're going to be successful as an ummah, we need to reflect on following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in all of the aspects of our lives. We need to work hard and strive. And if we don't do it, we're never going to be successful as an ummah, as Imam Malik said, rahimahullah, that we're never going to be successful in ummah until we follow that which the first part of the ummah follows. Inshallah, on our next episode, we're going to start diving into the inner secrets and details behind the missing ingredients in the prayer itself. We're going to say Allahu Akbar. We're going to take a journey through the prayer, inshallah, together here on Huda TV. So until our next episode, Allahu Alam, Allah knows best. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad.